Hi, this is Sue Greenwald with Awaken Stories. I'm here today again with Cisco the Motivator. Hey, Cisco, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How you doing?
Awesome, awesome. Well, we did part two of your life story, if you will, and you left us at a cliffhanger. All right.
Sorry to
So
hear that.
you had been in a we'll call it just a fight, all right?
Hmm.
And you had a whole bunch of guys surrounded you with guns and weapons. So you were macheted and you were shot. I think you said maybe 7 times. I don't know if that's
7 times.
okay.
Yes.
Then you were arrested. You were put in jail overnight, unattended to, still bleeding and hurt. And then you had like kind of an unsettled person sharing the cell with you.
Right.
And you kind of put them to sleep for the night. And in the morning, when the police got there, they were super surprised because they didn't
Yeah.
even know you were in that cell. And here you
Right.
are, still hurt and bleeding,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yes.
And then they saw the other guy. So tell us what happened then. That is like just insane right now. It's insane.
Well, I was once they put me in the cell, and it was one of those cells where the floor goes like this. So if you have to go to the restroom or whatever, you can do it right there. So I was laying like on over on the side of it, and just keeping myself calm as I could, because I knew I was bleeding. So um, next thing I know, the door opens up and they throw this guy inside. He went right on top of me, and once he felt me, he just starts swinging. I'm like, what the heck's going on? So, we were tussling around and until I was able to get to his neck, and I put him in a sleeper hold, and I kept him right there until it was time for them to come in and get him off of me.
So there were no lights in that cell and there
No,
was no
no
bed or
lights.
anything.
No, no,
Wow. So you
no.
laid there and tried to remain calm to slow your heart rate. And
Yes.
I'm assuming you were in a little bit of pain.
Well, yes, yeah. But I tried to, you know, not let it get to me.
Yeah.
When you get in that state, you have to what they call um don't let things you know, get to you and, let your pain and the agony of it just goes away, and you think of, good thoughts and everything should work out, feel better. So that's what I did.
Wow. Okay. So you didn't try to holler for help, none of what most of us guys would do.
No, no, no.
Okay.
I figure by me yelling and screaming, they just go, oh, we just threw that guy in there and now he's yelling and screaming. They wouldn't even think it was me because they just forgot I was even in there.
Wow.
So,
Now, how
yeah.
many guys attacked you when you were shot and stabbed?
Um, I knew that it was at least there was two guys on the pickup truck. Uh, Two guys came up the stairs, and then there was three more guys came behind them, but they circled around the staircase. So I thought it was 6 or 7 guys, but just because I was shot 7 times doesn't mean it was 7 guys. So,
Yeah.
but I knew it was either 6 or 7.
Yeah. So it was like a John Wick moment.
Yes,
You had to go into fight or flight and you were like,
for sure.
I'm going to
It
survive
was a
this.
do or die situation, you know.
Yeah.
And the people that was watching, they were hiding, but they were watching. And they said that it seemed like every time I got shot or whatever, seemed like I got stronger, you know. So, but yeah, I just knew that it was a life death situation, and you just gotta go with the flow.
Right. Right. And I know you said you ran into one of the guys that you fought a few months later or something. And
It was about it was about 9 months later,
yeah.
9 months. And it was in a 7-Eleven. I walked into 7-Eleven, and when I put what I had in my hand, put it on the counter, he looked in my eyes, I looked in his eyes, and we both knew. And he said, "Look, I don't want no problems. I don't want no problems." I was like, "There's no problems." I said, "It's over with, you
Wow.
know."
So you
And
forgave
I
him.
noticed his ear because I remember snatching an ear off, and I could tell that his earlobe was missing. He just had a little whatever was left. That's
Oof.
what they didn't try to even put nothing back on. So okay,
So when you were fighting, you grabbed his ear off.
yeah, yeah,
And they
yeah,
tried to sew what they could salvage back on, it
yeah,
sounds like.
right, yeah.
Yikes.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you kind of forgave him, it sounds like.
I Yeah, I mean, what's done is done. Why recruit something that's is over with?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. All right. So let's go back then to the morning that the police open the cell and they're like, hey, what are you doing in here? Now, you said before they didn't know that the blood on you was yours. They thought it was the other guy's.
not
So,
the guy they threw in me
yeah,
in the cell. It was the fight of from the fight.
yeah,
Those guys. Yeah.
yeah. So, did they take you to the hospital then?
Yo, that's when they found out that I was bleeding, and that's when they took me to the hospital.
Okay. And how long were you in the hospital? Like, I assume you had to have stitches and stuff.
Yeah. They let me out. I think like the next day after they found out that so many people came forth and told their story, and they said, "What's the reason for this guy to be in jail?" And the thing about it was too, I used to train a lot of the police officers and stuff like that. So a lot of those guys knew me, and they said, "That's not like him,"
Yeah.
you know.
Wow.
So
Wow.
so that helped me too.
So I know for the viewer, this is funny. When I first heard this story, I was asking, oh my God, how long were you in the hospital? And he goes, a couple of days, like real chill, like it was nothing. Most of us would be kicking and screaming and moaning and like limping around. It's just funny. It's funny, but it shows the
Yeah.
way you live your life.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
goes and comes. Just goes and comes.
Yeah. So that was about, I think you said age 19 or so.
Well, it was after my football days, so um, yeah, I was going into either 19 or 20.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
20, 21. Yeah.
So during that time, then you had the football injury, you learned to walk again, you started
Hmm.
martial arts,
Yeah,
and you were training people, you said, in like kind of the
right.
back alley and back of the
Right.
gym.
Yeah.
And then you were up north just fooling around, I guess, for some reason. So, and that
Well,
incident,
I traveled a little bit
yeah,
back and forth, but
yeah,
yeah, I didn't stay up there much,
yeah.
because I knew my life was changing. So I said I'm tired of being up north, and I'm going to make Florida my home.
Okay, okay. So a lot of what we're going to talk about happened simultaneously. Like it wasn't like you did this, then you did this, then you did this.
Yeah.
So we talked about after you healed and were able to walk, you started martial arts. So
Yes.
so you learned karate and different styles of martial arts. And then you started kickboxing. All right.
Right.
And
Hmm.
you started personal training as
I
well.
didn't start kickboxing for a while
Oh,
because I stayed in the martial arts. I stayed in the karate game for from the 78s until, no, not 78s. That's when I won the world title in 78. But I started really competing, I think, around 73, 74.
Okay.
And then from that on, I just kept on competing in the martial
Right.
arts all over.
Right. And and then you started kickboxing, and you did other forms of martial arts as well.
Yes, yes,
And of
yes,
course, you were dancing still.
yes.
So
I was still dancing. Yeah,
yeah, it's my opinion that dancing and that flexibility added to your your strength as as a fighter, as a boxer,
for
because you're
sure. Yes,
flexible and
right.
strong,
And yes,
super
and
fast.
mobility. To be a great dancer, you got to have good mobility.
Yeah,
Well, d depends on what kind of dancing. Any kind of dancing you're doing, you got to have great mobility.
yeah,
Break dancing, ballet. You know, um, uh, couples dance. Whatever. So it all depends on what you're doing, but I think all of that got to have great mobility
yeah.
in what
Okay.
you're doing.
Yeah. And so then you were telling us last time that you started boxing. So you learned the boxing moves again as a way of training. And
Yeah.
you probably didn't compete as a boxer, but more of a kickboxer.
Well, like I said, my instructor, uh, he was not about just the martial arts at the time. He had us doing everything: boxing,
Right.
uh,
Right.
martial, karate, jiu-jitsu, because he also was trained under Moses Powell. Professional Moses Powell was one of the best jiu-jitsu guys you ever want to meet. He's really well known. So he didn't just train in just karate. We trained in jiu-jitsu, hapkido. We did boxing as well. So like if we were going to karate tournaments, some days we would go to boxing tournaments. And so we did it all, you know.
Okay. Cross training like to the
Yes,
nth degree.
for sure.
So you were dancing, but you also were singing at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
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 All right.
Uh, I uh, I performed with KC and the Sunshine Band back in the day. Jimmy Bohorn, East Coast Brass, Anthony Tillman and the East Coast Brass. Um, and then, I got to meet uh, Mark Watts in West Palm Beach, and he was a manager and DJ at this nightclub, and we started. Performing together there. And then it worked on where we did two songs together and everything. And yeah, it was awesome. And
Yeah.
that's how I started meeting, other celebrities and stuff like that. Because in Boca Raton, when I was living in Boca Raton, there was a nightclub called the Bounty Lounge. And they used to have performers come there all the time. And that's when I really met Casey and the Sunshine Band. They came there to perform, and he remembered me from Delray Beach, and he said, "Man, you gotta come up here and dance for us." And I was doing security there, and I got up there, and that's when the people found out, "Oh man, this guy can dance too," So it was great.
Yeah, yeah. So you had told me that you had created a like we're gonna call it a cardio kickboxing video. We talked
Yes,
about Billy Blanks doing Tai Bo way back when you knew
yes,
him, but you had done
right.
your own like blend of exercise, cardio movements, and you created that as well.
Well, what happened before Billy Blanks came out? I mean, I really like him. He's a great guy. And before he started doing Taibo, he came out with Taibo. My exercise was to go in the gym and I would ask permission. Could I use the aerobic room for a little bit? And they said, yeah, go ahead. Nobody's in there. And I'd go in there and I'd work my martial arts and dance together, and people was watching me, and they would come by and tell the manager, said, look, whatever that guy's doing in there, we would like to do it too. So you think he would teach us? And he said, well, let me find out. And he called me in one day and told me, said, whatever you're doing, there's some people who would like, to start working with you. And so I said, okay. And that's how I got started. And I started teaching. Well, at the time I called it cardio kickboxing, or dance kickboxing or whatever.
Mhm.
And and then they said, well, you got to put a name on this thing. And I said, well, y'all call me the motivator, so we'll call it Dancing with the Motivators. So
Oh,
so I did.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that was a while ago, but that was a big
yeah,
deal, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Wow.
was selling tapes out the back of my car, videotapes out the back of my car because people wanted to buy my videos.
Yeah.
Everybody couldn't take my classes and stuff. So, okay.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Awesome. So, then we had talked last time about how you were an actor as well as a stunt double, okay,
Yes. Yeah.
for multiple TV shows. Okay, so you had named a few. Miami Vice was really big. I'm gonna
Yeah.
say 80s, was it?
Yeah.
Huge show.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
21 Jump Street.
Yep.
That was, I think that was 2012.
21 Jump Street. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Anyways, a
and
bunch of shows. So you
yeah.
had created a team for Miami Vice of kickboxers, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, it was a karate team. It was a
Karate, yeah.
karate team. And at the time, the Budweiser team, which Billy Blanks was on, was the biggest. They were the best team. I mean, they had the best of the best
Yeah, yeah.
fighters.
Mm.
And we got together and we put the Miami Vice karate team together. We started training together and we started touring the United States and we got the sponsorship. And yeah, we went to California, Kentucky, New York. Uh, we went everywhere. We fought everybody. And, we met when we got to Kentucky. That's when we met the Budweiser team and we fought the Budweiser team and we beat them. So then we come back to Miami and they're having a big tournament in Miami and they were gunning for us. Oh, we got to get them guys back. Oh, we had a great time. It was a great time. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So you said that when you were on the set of Miami Vice, even if you weren't like working, you would do stuff for them, like you would train people or, you'd be doing whatever was necessary, right?
Yeah, they liked me to be on set a lot. So if I
Mhm.
wasn't a stand-in or doing background work or doing choreographing fighting scenes or whatever, they just like for me to be on set. And so yeah, and I go and hang out and do whatever.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So, so you said you were on, I think, 13 episodes of Miami Vice, and then,
I did
all
about
these other, yeah,
I did I would say at least 13 of them,
yeah.
and I did different things off and on. So but again, sometimes I was doing like either 21 Jump Street and then I'd leave and go to Miami Vice or I was doing a movie of uh, Florida Times where I was 3 o'clock in the morning. I had to get on set and they would dress me like a parrot. And it would take from 3 to about 5 in the morning. I was ready to do my thing. But and then afterwards, I'd hurry up and change and have to run and go to Miami Vice again. So yeah, so I do, you know, one or two different movies or whatever in a day.
Wow. Wow. So you were so busy with training, kickboxing, karate, and then
Training,
acting and stunt
yeah,
double. All right.
yeah.
How did you kind of morph into bodyguard? Like, how did that happen?
Well, again, my Aikido Hapkido instructor, he was in charge of all the movies that came in the Southeast United States. So he trained the students to do security and stunts. And I guess I was really good at what I was doing, and people were um, saying, "Look, I'd like that guy right there to be, you know, with me or whatever." And that's how I start, working and being a bodyguard because people would just request me to be with them, and that's how I got started.
Okay. And then,
But my first, I remember my first job was with Jan and Dean. You remember them? there was the music. They were back in the day. It was like almost like a Jan and Dean was almost like a I'm trying to think what kind of music they were. They did it was more like rock, I think it was. But
Jan
they were
and
back in
Dee.
the Jan and Dean. Yeah, they were back there in the hippie days.
I'm sorry, I don't know that. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I might if I heard the song or whatever,
yeah,
but
yeah,
no.
yeah.
So you
But yeah, they
bodyguarded for them.
that was the first people I bodyguard was Jan and Dean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been a bodyguard then since the 70s on
Oh
through
yeah, for
now.
sure.
So
Yeah.
you've worked with a lot of celebrities, names
A
that
lot of
everyone
people.
watching this would know.
Yes, a lot of people know.
Yeah.
Yes. Um there, there's people that I can't I mean I can say who they are. I just don't say what we did or whatever, but
Yeah.
I worked with Jamie Foxx. I did Red Fox was amazing. Of all the people I've worked with, he was amazing. He treated me so well. He loved people. And I remember, uh, I went to Atlantic City with him and we get off the plane and he gave me this big black tote bag. And he says, guard this with your life. And he says, even if we separate, you keep that bag with you. I'm like, okay. So as we walking from the airport and we get to the pilot, and he says, give me two of those out of that. And I reached in and I didn't even look. I just reached and touched and saw that he's got all these bills, but he's got them wrapped in rubber bands. And so I reached in and got two and gave it to the pilot. And then we go into a hotel and we're walking through the hotel and all the workers, he says, give him one, give him one,
Oh
give
my
him
God.
this, give him that, give him this, you know. So he was very, very giving person.
So he was giving everyone that helped him like a
Or
bundle of money.
or just workers, like he didn't give them a bundle of money. So what happened was when we got in the hotel, he said, take one and then just just get them out and then give one person each. I think they were $100 bills. So so I just give people $100 bills as we walking through. And then the next day we walked in the mall. We walked through the mall and I saw this. We got to this jewelry store. And I'm looking at this jewelry store and I see this pendant, a diamond, is just reeling around on this ring. And I'm looking at it, I'm looking at it. He says, you like that, huh? I'm like, yes. So we kept walking. And by the time I got back to my room, I walked in my room and there was a box on my bed. And I opened the box and it was that ring. It was $2,600. He bought it for me.
And back there, that
And
was that back then it meant it was
it
way
meant
more,
a lot.
way,
Yes,
yeah.
for sure. Yes.
Wow. How
But
generous is that?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yep. But
Yeah.
I get chills when I think about that now. It's
Yeah.
like, wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you have met so many celebrities, and I know
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't tell us details, like you have a
Yeah.
confidentiality
Yeah.
thing. You
Yeah.
probably had to sign something, I'm assuming, with each one.
Well, back in the day, we did. Yes. Yes. I don't, the people I deal with now are, well, um, most of the people I deal with now, they kind of already either have a relationship with me or they know of me and or they met a friend that they used to work with or whatever, and they told them about me or whatever. So that's how I get jobs now.
Yeah.
But I used to be with a company in Miami, and they would call you up and tell you, uh, well, you need to meet this person at the airport or meet that person wherever, and then go from there. So, and then I keep you keep a tab. they sign it, you get them to sign it and date it. So when you send it in, that's how you get paid.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. So you're doing all of this simultaneously. So you are tremendously busy. You're
Yes.
having a great life.
Yeah.
You're really exciting. And I want to talk about music videos next, but before that, I think we should tell the story, okay? Because
Hmm.
that's pertinent to what happened. All right.
Hmm.
And so I know there's a lot of sensitive information you don't have to give away, but
Hmm.
could you tell us the story, like kind of like how you were invited and what happened there?
Well, I was doing a lot and I was getting famous. I mean, my movie name was the man, Cisco, the man, and so anybody that wanted me to work, that's who they would look up. But I was getting ready to start doing big things, and I got invited to a party. And back in those days, I mean, we didn't know anything about, you know, all this crazy stuff that's coming out now. But I decided to go, and I went to California, and I got off the plane, and I thought I was going to catch a taxi or whatever, but this car picked me up and took me to where it was going to take me, where I needed to go. And I get there, and instead of walking indoors, the guy took me around the side and through the patio. So when I got to the patio, I started seeing familiar faces that I knew, uh, uh, and that I've seen in movies and stuff like that. And it was a mixture of, rappers and movie actors and actresses and stuff like that. So um, it kind of shocked me that all those people were going to be there. But yeah, um, but then I'm walking around, and the guy that brought me in. He said, "I'm gonna go get the host." He said, just just hang out." I said, "Okay, no problem." So I'm walking around, and my eyes hit the barbecue pit and hit another table that has little shots of redness, and I just knew. I'm like, this is not that's not juice or whatever. And then I started putting one and one together and getting chewed that you know I'm looking at the barbecue pit, and it kind of looked like chicken, but it wasn't chicken. I just knew that it wasn't chicken. And I said to myself, I said, I think I better get out of here, because this is not good. And I've heard of things like this, but I never had experienced it. And I said, before I experience any more than what uh, I should, I think I better get out of here. So I went to walk off. I went to walk off, and I think somebody noticed me. They go, "Hey, wait, hey, where you going? Where you going?" I just kept on walking, and I went back to the car, and I waited for the guy come to the car, and he came to the car and says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Man, I just got a phone call. I got to get out of here. I got to get back home. I got to get back home." And he said, "Well, yeah." I said, "I can't stay. I can't stay. I can't stay." But he said, "Okay, okay, okay." Look, so he took me back to the airport, and um, I caught my plane, the earliest plane that I could get back. It took about 4 hours. That plane wasn't going to leave for like 4 hours, so I had to still hang out for 4 hours. And I just got to an area where I knew that my back would be against the wall, and I just stayed there until it was time for me to get back on the plane and come back.
Right. So let's back up just a little bit, okay?
Because, yeah.
Before you went to the party, you were
Hmm.
told that you were going to make it big. You were told
Oh yeah.
repeatedly. This was
Yes.
your big chance, right?
Right.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get to the party and you notice the barbecue, but you told me that there were two guards around the barbecue.
Yes, it was.
Right.
Yes. It was one on each side. Yes.
So do you think the guards, what were they guarding? People taking stuff or,
Well, I think they didn't want people to get too close, so they didn't want people to recognize exactly they were cooking.
yeah, yeah,
So they kind of like kept people at a distance,
yeah,
and uh, that's my take on it. You
yeah,
know, they were they had shades on, so whatever they were looking at, you wouldn't know what they were looking at until they
right,
were looking at you
right,
or whatever.
right.
So I think that's what they were doing. They were making sure that people don't get so close until it was time.
So they don't
And
recognize what kind of meat is on that barbecue. So like a
right,
new person, say like yourself, would freak out if they knew what was on that
yeah,
barbecue.
for sure.
All right.
Yeah, yeah,
So then your eyes, like you notice the barbecue with the guards, and then you see the table with shot glasses or glasses
it was
filled
like
with a
shot
red
glasses.
liquid.
Yes,
Okay. Does
yes.
everyone get what we're talking about here? Do I need to say it on the video? It was uh, instead of chicken, it was slightly larger and something
Yeah,
we hate to talk about, but
right.
we've got an eyewitness that has seen that. And the whole place was filled with celebrities who you're
Yes,
probably not going to name, but
right.
you knew that if you had gone inside the building, it was, curtains for you. You would have
Oh
had
yeah,
to comply.
for sure.
Yeah.
There was no turning back.
Yeah. Okay. So you get out of there, you make an excuse, you get the first plane out, your back is against the wall and you're just waiting for your flight.
Yep.
Now, I assume you were pretty scared at that point.
I was uh I was not comfortable at
Yeah.
all. So I figured, well, if it's gonna happen, we'll be going down fighting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'll just get where people can't be behind me, and whatever's going to come, they got to come my direction so where I can see. So
Right. So you had told me, well, that was really a turning point in your career. Now, you were told by, let's say, the celebrities or whoever that invited you to that party that that was where you're going to make it really big. You were going to
yeah,
become famous, you're going to have money and blah, 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 all the
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
people want, right?
right, right,
And
yes,
then after that event, the phone stopped ringing and you basically lost everything. You lost your career. Like they didn't need you anymore. They stopped calling you for this, that, or whatever. Do you want
yep.
to tell us some of the details of that story?
It was just like, when I got back, the next day I got a phone call, and they said, "Why'd you leave?" And I said, "I had an emergency. I had to get back and everything." And they said, "Well, this was the monument of where you was going to start making it big, and this meeting was going to be very, very good for you." I said, "Well, I'm sorry, I had to leave, and I just had to go."
Right,
So I didn't tell them what I saw. I didn't tell them nothing. I just said I just couldn't stay there. It was an emergency, and I had to get back. So we said, well, okay, but that was and I think they knew that I saw something, so they weren't gonna fight me on it or whatever. So I didn't say no more to them, and they didn't say no more to me. So,
right,
and sure enough, after that, I start getting no phone calls, nothing, you know. And when I started calling my agent and stuff like that, they were making all kinds of excuses for why, they weren't calling me or whatever.
right, right. So I had asked you if the driver of the limos or the cars that picked you up knew what was going on inside that house. And you said, of course they did.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So everybody there knew what was going on and they were trying to
yes,
get you involved.
yes.
Yeah.
And I'm
And
pretty sure there was more. new people that they brought that night. I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only one
Yeah.
because uh, when I walked in, there was about 8 people that was just sitting there, in an area. So they weren't walking around like everybody else was. They were just sitting there because they were like, I don't know if they was told that they sit there or whatever, but they were just sitting there and they was talking to each other.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but when I walked in, I'm like, I'm gonna do some looking around. I'm
Yeah.
seeing all these people. I shook a couple of hands and then I just,
Mhm.
once I saw that, I'm like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bad news. Bad news. So, I hate to keep interrupting you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you had told me you had a large studio. So you had a
Mhm.
fitness training studio. You had a
Yes.
line of clothing. You had a beautiful house. You had
I had
cars.
three homes.
You had
Three
what?
homes.
Three
Three
homes?
homes. I had one home that only my family and I lived. I had another home if I had company come in or relatives come in and they needed a place to stay, they would stay at a hotel, whatever, they stay in that house. And then I had another house was my party house. That anytime I put on parties or whatever, that's where people would go.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Wow.
yes.
Wow. Okay. Wow. I didn't know that.
And
So,
I had 11 automobiles and everything had a tag on it, insurance and everything. And, matter of fact, the city used to be after me all the time because I had so many automobiles, that, other people like freaking out, like it looks like a car lot here, in our neighborhood. I didn't care.
yeah. Okay. So everything was above board. You did nothing
Yeah.
illegal or with
No,
ill intent toward anyone. So
no.
basically, after this party experience, the phone stopped ringing, and then you said you got a call from, say, let's just use Miami Vice because that's a good one. That they no longer needed you, pretty much. That they were moving in this case. They had an excuse.
Yeah. Uh, a couple of people that I really knew really well. Uh, after uh, after about 3 or 4 weeks of me just keep calling back, keep calling back, keep calling back, and nothing's happening. And they said that the company moved back to California, and they were gonna go in a different direction. So if I wanted to continue, I'd probably have to move out there, and because they're going to use people that they can have, more regular than just people every now and then.
Right.
And they didn't want to, and they said, if you go out there, you know how much that we use you, you can't be flying back and forth. So it'd probably be best for you to move out there. I'm like, well, I don't think I'm going to do that, so I didn't move. So
Right. But it was kind of in my
it was a
mind,
way of getting me. It's a way of them knowing that I wasn't gonna move with
yeah,
everything I got going on. So
yeah,
they knew I was gonna move.
yeah.
Yeah,
They were like just looking for an excuse to
yeah, yeah,
not use you. And same with the other shows and things that you were doing, and even bodyguard services. There
yeah.
always seemed to be an
Everything,
excuse.
everything. My agent that I was working for and stuff like that, they said that they were going to close the operation down there and said that they were moving out of the area. So all these things was, everybody's making excuses. I'm like, okay, all right, you know. So if the jobs that I got afterwards, it's because those people got my number and they called me personally,
Right,
or, people that knew me and they said, oh, I know a guy, whatever. That's how I got work then.
right, okay. So you're of course disappointed because you loved what you were doing and you were so used to working. So things start to taper off. And then you said, I'm gonna say it's roughly 3 years after the party incident. Um, do you want to tell us that story? I don't want to butt in. again.
Well, here I am. I never trusted banks at this point. And so I would have most of my money in a safe at home. And so I had friends and stuff that would call me and needed money. I said, hey, yeah, wake me up 2 and 3 in the morning. I'd say, you know, I'll put an envelope and I'll put it under the mat on the door or put it in the mailbox or whatever and come get it. But I had a financial advisor that was working with he had five of us under contract. And what happened was we started getting letters from the IRS that we owed millions of dollars. So we figured that this guy we found out later that, he was taking 35% off the top of everything that was coming in every month from each one of us. So eventually, we don't know if the wrong people got a hold of him and paid him to do that, or he just decided on his own that he's just going to treat us that way. And so I heard that he moved out of the country and he got a plastic surgery, but we don't know for sure if that's true or not. But we never saw him again.
All right.
So the letter that I got that we owed millions of dollars, so I had to start selling everything I had to keep from going to jail. 'Cause my homes, so cars, and I had to start closing my businesses and stuff like that, and because it that was crazy. And so it was that's where I went downhill, you know,
Right.
started going downhill.
So basically, when you say us, that we received a letter, you said there were five athletes that
Yes.
he, like, we'll call it managed, or I don't know
Yeah.
what the word is. I don't know if he was
But
an
he,
agent or a
he was
financial guy.
he was a he's supposed to have been a financial advisor.
Yeah,
That's what he said he was.
yeah. So he
But
put,
us young guys, we were young guys, getting all this money here and there, and we just needed somebody. Everybody always said, find somebody to take care of your money that knows what to do, and so that's what we did. And we
yeah,
thought we were doing the right thing. I
yeah,
didn't have family that I could depend on,
right, right.
so I had to do what I had to do.
Yeah. So basically, he took roughly 35% and ran with the money, or maybe he's not even here. Maybe no, we don't know what happened to him, but he took yours and the other guy's money, and
Yes, yes.
no, he was never seen again. But basically, you got a letter from the IRS that said you owed
Hmm.
X number of millions of
Yeah,
dollars,
right.
and you didn't really call and clarify or argue with them, but you just sold your stuff to pay them
Mm,
back.
yeah, yep,
Yikes.
yeah.
The message I got after I heard that story was what was taken shall be restored.
Well, I had a pastor one time tell me, matter of fact, you know, man, I want to say his name so bad, but I
Mhm.
can't. But anyway, things that he says to people, he wasn't a pastor. He was people that thinks, not think, but people that can see things in the future
Like a psychic
and
guy?
not psychic. Oh, not a psychic, but I'll think of his name soon,
Okay.
but it's not a
So-
psychic.
Okay.
Um, it's different. It's
A,
different pastorals. There's
a
you have
prophet?
pastor, prophet. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a prophet,
Yeah.
and he was very good at what he does. As a matter of fact, things that he has prophesied has come true today. I mean, things that he said 20, 30 years ago is
Okay.
coming true today. And now they're seeing this guy is truthful. But anyway, it was told to me that everything that has been taken from you, God's going to restore and give it back
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah.
And you won't even be able to give it all away. So I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, that was what I got. What was taken shall be restored.
Yeah,
So,
right.
I mean, it had to hurt, and of course you
Or,
were,
yeah,
we'll call it innocent,
yeah.
of
And I would have
really,
gave away anyway. I was giving people away. I was giving money away.
yeah.
I was helping people, all the time anyway. So it didn't
I
bother.
love what you told us about Red Fox, like
Yeah,
how
right.
cool of a person, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
rather than keep the money like most wealthy people do, he just
Yeah.
shared, and that made people love him even more.
And he got into RS trouble too, but I believe because he probably didn't have the right people in his corner that he was giving away more than he was earning. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, so I wanted to talk a little bit. I wanted to get the party story out. Okay, so that's a big
Mhm.
deal. And through your life, you've bodyguarded and you've met several celebrities, and
Mhm.
you've probably seen some unsavory behavior. I'm just going to say it that way. And
Yeah.
um, you're not out there blabbing. Like even to get your story out of you has
Yeah.
been um,
Hmm.
you know, sometimes I have to ask multiple times the same question, to get the story. It's but you're a private person. You're not telling your stuff and you're not telling anyone else's. So this is,
Right.
big that you're coming forward for.
Right.
It's a big thing, and I
Right.
appreciate what you're doing, but
Thank you.
it shows to your character.
Hmm. Hmm.
So let's just talk about one music video, the big one. Okay. So you said that you were in Michael Jackson's Thriller. So can you tell us how like, what led to that music video, how you made the video, what you did? You've told me a couple stories around that I thought were fascinating. So I think the viewer would like to know that as well.
All right. Well, I had my own dance troupe years ago, and boys and girls. And I had one guy that was amazing. I mean, I had to do Michael until I got him, but I was Michael. So I'd put my wig on. I had a wig that I would wear and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I had the red jacket and the pants. I had all the moves and stuff like that. And so we would, we choreographed and did Beat It. We did Thriller. We did Man in the Mirror, and we did another one. There's another one. But anyway, so we would do those, and I had the Pepsi Cola team. That was my breakdancing team, and then I had For Your Eyes Only. That was my girls' team, and so we all, performed all over the place all the time, and so they had this thing where, the best dancer would be able to hang out with Michael Jackson at Disney World, and I won it. So I got to hang out with Michael at Disney World. I couldn't believe it. There was nobody else there. It was just Michael and I, and maybe about 16 people altogether. But he was amazing. I mean, he would get us once we got off that plane, boy, I'm telling you, he was, and I had to keep up with him. And so we jumped from one ride to the other, and he just wanted just to ride, just wanted to enjoy himself, and he did. And so that's one time that I met him, and then the next time I met him, uh, mm, mm, I went to his place in California, and that was a pretty big thing for me at that time. And this was around the time when, he was, I, I guess he was trying to, well, I don't know if they were trying to get him to be a Muslim or not, or whatever, but they had chosen a couple of pastors to go and talk to him, and I got to be a part of that as security, not to speak to him, but just as for security, and um, and so that's the next time I met him, and then the next time I met him, which was before, I think that was before this. This is when he got his hair burnt and his hair caught on fire when he was doing the Pepsi Cola commercial
Mhm.
in Baltimore, Maryland. Well, he he took a break and flew down to Palm Beach. So they called me. They said, "Look, Michael's coming down to Palm Beach and he wants to just get away." So uh, my agency from Miami called me and says, "You're meeting Michael at the airport." And I hung up on them. They called me back again. They said, "You're meeting Michael Jackson at the airport." I hung up on them again. The third time they called me, they said, "What is your problem? You don't want to work for us anymore?" I'm like, "I don't have a problem working for you. But when you say I'm meeting Michael Jackson at the airport, that's not just some local person or whatever. This is Michael Jackson we're talking about." They go, "Yeah, you're meeting him at the airport." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so I jumped in my car and went home real quick, got my clothes and changed and got there and got to the airport. We went to the private airport. They said he was coming in on the on the private, so we went there and he had one bodyguard with him. And but I have pictures and stuff that I'll show you one day. But yeah, it was just me and one guy, and we put him in a limo, and we went to Palm Beach. And when we got to Palm Beach, he would jump out of the car and run into a store and then run back out. He'd jump back in the car. He'd go down to another store. He'd jump back out. He'd run to the store. And every store that he went to, people were giving him things like cologne, scarves, all kinds of stuff, you know? And so by the time he did his whole thing in Palm Beach, um, and got back on the plane, he gave me everything that the people had given him.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was a pretty big thing at that time, meeting him like that.
That is cool. So what
Yeah.
made you think that, your agent that was calling you was like pulling your leg? You know what I mean? Like
Because
you've
that
met
was
him
my
twice.
I know, but you know, no to me, Michael Jackson was the biggest of the biggest. I mean,
Yeah.
you can call any other names out there, celebrities or whatever. When you called Michael Jackson, that name
Yeah.
is above all to me. So I just thought they were lying to me. I really did. I thought they were pulling my
So funny.
leg.
All right. So he went shopping and then he gave you all the stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He didn't spend a dime. They just gave him stuff. He
Wow.
didn't have to buy nothing. No,
Yeah.
they were just glad that he came in their store.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they took pictures with him, whatever.
Yeah.
They got a
So
picture.
did you go inside with him or were you in the car?
No, we waited at the door
Ah,
because, well, the other guy did. He went in. I stayed at the door,
okay.
and so whoever was in was in. I wouldn't be supposed to let anybody else in or
Yeah.
out until
Yeah.
he came out. Yeah,
Wow. See, we
yeah,
don't know how it works, most of us. Like we
yeah.
do our own shopping and we have to pay for stuff and
We don't know about that. That's a whole nother level.
That's funny. So then you
It's
got to
funny
know,
how you could be the richest person in the world and people want to meet you. They'll give you anything. They'll just
yeah,
give you stuff. They don't
yeah,
want you to buy it. They want
yeah.
to give it to you.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome. So you got to know him pretty well after the third time,
yeah,
or he knew who
yeah,
you were. Let's put it
yeah,
that way,
yeah. Right.
which is cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you say he was a cool person? Like, was he a good person?
he was a he was a cool person. He's a good person. When it came to performing, you had to be on, or you weren't going to be there. He's not gonna he's not gonna disgrace you or whatever, but he'll point and he'll point, and when they point, that means get you out of there and get someone else in, you
Mm-mm.
know.
Okay.
And so uh and that's the way he was. And so by the time when we started doing Thriller and in California, uh we were there, the dancers was there for at least golly, we were there what 12, I think we were there 12 weeks performing, getting that. We got to get that thing down. Yeah, 12 weeks. So every 9 days we would get paid. Every 9 days we would get paid. And so when by the time he got there, because Peters, who was his choreographer, uh, he said, he would tell us, he says, y'all can play around if you want. But I'm saying right now, when Michael get here, he's just gonna point and you're out of here. That's it. There ain't no second chance or nothing. And so, and sure enough, when Michael came, it was like, everybody knew you got to be on your best because you don't get a second chance.
So
And
you were
so,
there 12 weeks
yeah,
practicing?
yeah,
Weeks.
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
How many people were in the group of guys that were practicing?
Because we went through so many people, it had to be over. By the time they really picked, I mean, they went through thousands of dancers, but by the time they broke it down to the core of which they think Michael would go through and use, it was about still 100 and some. By the time he got there, 12 weeks, it was still about 100 and some dancers.
So that was a huge studio. Huge. Okay.
Yeah,
And you did
yeah.
that same
And
song.
well, and the thing was, we did a lot of it out in uh, a stadium, but nobody was allowed in the stadium.
Wow.
Yeah,
So did he have to rent the stadium, do you think?
I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah,
Wow.
he had to rent it out. Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah. Even though no one was there, he still had to probably rent it out, because it's being used. And we had to use the restrooms and stuff like that. They catered food and you know, but yeah,
Wow. Wow, that's cool. So basically, his choreographer would tell you guys what to do. You'd do it over and over. He'd walk in through the rows. He'd select guys he didn't think would make the cut. And then it
yeah.
got narrowed down to about 100 people. And then Michael walks in.
Hmm.
All right, tell us that story.
Well, they let us know. They go, this is the day Michael's coming in. So I probably won't see a lot of you guys after the day. It's been a pleasure working with you, and you guys are great. You worked your butt off hard. So, but we don't know, excuse me, we won't know
Yeah,
until Michael tells us who he wants to keep.
yeah.
So when my name was called, I was the oldest guy of them all. I mean, the next youngest one I was probably about 15 years older than that person.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had to show your dance individually.
No, he just did group stuff. He did group stuff. And if you weren't on time, he would just point. If you weren't on time, he would just point. That's it.
Did you have to
Yeah.
wear like
But we already did. I mean, we already did uh, one-on-one things and stuff like that. But when it got to a group, because when you're doing a dance or group thing, everybody's got to be together, and you will see if one person's off, everybody else could be together. One person off is going to show. So and that's where he would point, you know.
How many people ended up staying on for that video?
I think he still kept about. I think he still kept about. I would say in the 30s, just in case somebody got hurt or somebody sick or something like that. I still think he kept about 30 people on.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So then when you recorded the video, how long did that take?
Once we started filming, it only took about, I would say it took about 25 takes maybe, because they would put stuff together. Like if this here was good and say this part was good, they'll take and snip that and they'll put it with another good part until they get the whole part that they want. Yeah.
Okay, 25 days roughly. So where were you in the video? Just so if we watch it, we kind of know, like what character were you?
Um, I was the one right behind I was in the first row right behind if Michael's facing I'm on the left side.
Okay. Isn't that cool? So we're gonna
Yeah,
look that up. All right.
yeah.
I feel like we're at a really good resting spot. Anything else we want to talk about the thriller video?
Mm,
It must have been exciting
mm,
though.
yeah.
Exciting.
It was a lot it was every day I woke up it was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thank God for me being there, being the oldest and being, who I was and everything. Because I mean, these were fantastic dancers. And I mean, a lot of them was better than me. But the thing that and it's just like my fighting. There's a lot of guys faster. There's a lot of guys can throw better kicks than me and stuff like that. But what I've always taught myself was timing. You got to have great timing. And if your timing's off, then the whole thing is off,
Right.
you know. So just like dancing, so you gotta be right on the beat. And I tell people all the time, what's the importance of the music? It's the beat. The beat is the most important because that's where you get the timing of everything else from the beat.
Wow. I mean, that Michael Jackson and that video too had such impact on society.
Yeah,
Like all of his songs had such a great impact to us. So
yeah,
how exciting that you were part of that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're at a good resting spot for today. And if you
Okay.
don't mind, we'll talk again in the near future.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for your time. And thank you
Okay.
guys for watching.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.